Okay, I'm going to give you a quick demo of how I use FreeRoam to find regions to camp in related to temperature weather. Okay, so you go ahead and open the app. Right now, the app opens to where you looked at last, and it also applies the filters that you were last searching. So when you're searching by weather, you want to make sure that FreeRoam is showing you all of the campgrounds, because that just gives you more data points to help you zoom in on a region that might work for you temperature-wise. So I'm not going to go over all of FreeRoam. I'm just going to go over quickly as I can the parts for this particular kind of search. So up at the top you see a search bar that says search here, and over on the right there's an eyeball. You touch the eye and you turn off everything but campgrounds. You turn campgrounds on. The reason you do that is you don't want the other things cluttering it up, and I believe only campgrounds are filtered by, you can filter by weather. So you're wanting the cleanest amount of data. Okay, so to get back to the map, you just touch the map part quickly above, and we're back here. The campgrounds come in two colors. Green is pay, and red is free, as far as I know. Okay, and this is not every campground. This is just the ones that FreeRoam's tracks. Most of them are campgrounds. There is some dispersed in there. All right, so the first thing you want to do is make sure that you don't have any filters turned on from the last time. Right below that search field, there are different ways to identify parameters. I'm going to swipe to the left. You can see the different types. You want to make sure that none are turned on, and you know that because if any are applied, instead of showing up as black, they show up as red, and they sort over at the leftmost. So because the leftmost one is black, that means there are none applied, which is great. That's what we want to start with. Okay, so, and if you want to start with your own location, there's that little bullseye in the bottom left area. If you touch that, it brings it to your particular location at the time that you're searching. FreeRoam also, in my experience, only works when you have cell signal. Okay, so basically you take up the top, you scroll over until you go to weather. Before I touch this, I want to explain that FreeRoam lets you search over a 7-day forecast. So what that means is every day has a high or a low. So you're really having 7 highs and 7 lows that it's searching over, and that explains why you get these options. So when I touched weather, this popped up. It defaults to monthly averages. I don't find those useful for the way I use it, so I'm going to touch on 7-day forecast. Okay, so you see there's 4 different temperature settings, plus a rainy days one. I'm going to plug in a sample of, I don't like hot weather, so I'm going to say for me, I want the maximum high. So of all those 7 days, the highest of the highs, I want to be less than 80. Okay, and then let's just go out and see what happens with that. I'm going to touch to get there. There is no apply button, so to just get back to the map, you just touch that tiny little sliver of it up top. Okay. So this is showing me that there's nowhere in the next 7 days around Yuma of the campgrounds that FreeRoam tracks that are under 80 every single of those 7 days. So let's just scroll out a little bit by pinching on the screen and see how long it takes us to have something show up. Okay. So it does look like if I really want to stick with a below 80 temperatures, I'm going to need to travel. If I really didn't want to burn the gas, I could go back and adjust that to 85 and see if maybe some stuff up in mountains popped up. But for the purpose of this demo, let's come over and look at this area. So it looks like there's a lot around Prescott and Flagstaff. So since there's a lot of options, I'm now going to get a little picky, and I say, well, I'm going to want to look at things. I don't like it when the nights get down below 40 in my perfect world. So I'm going to scroll back over to weather, which as you see is red because a filter is applied. Touch it. And then down in the minimum low, so the fourth one down, I'm going to say not only do I want the highest of the highs to be under 80, which is already applied, I'm going to say I want the minimum low to be greater than 39. So the lowest of the lows I want to be greater than 39. Okay, so now I'm going to touch that little map sliver and come back. And you see there is not a lot of options here. What that tells me is that probably these are all campsites more in valleys, and that anything with any elevation is probably getting too cold at night. I want more options in this, so I'm going to go back to weather and adjust to, I'm going to reset. It's just easiest to, oh, I forgot to mention, the reason I don't know why you can't see the numbers, I can't either, but they're there. They're just showing you the topmost sliver of them. So you really do want to make sure you're typing in the numbers accurately as you type. So between greater than 39 and under 80 isn't giving me a lot of options, so I'm going to play a little bit with that lowest number for me. I can put up with night temperatures getting colder. So I'm going to hit reset just because it's easier. Touch 7-day forecast. Say maximum high of less than 80. I'm not changing that one, but the minimum low of greater than, instead of saying 39 here, I'm going to say 35. Let's see what comes up. Okay, yeah, so there's a lot more options to choose from. So this might be where, this might be where I start honing in on areas that I might like to explore. I wouldn't necessarily be going to these spots. But one thing, let's say I wanted to focus over here and go to somewhere around Prescott. I first, before I get too into the weeds on specific locations, there's another thing I check that's related to weather, which is I just randomly pick one of these. Let's pick this Ponderosa Dispersed Camping. And when you touch it, you get this little screen up, and you touch info. And if you stay in this main first screen, the info screen, and you scroll down, there'll be the weather summary. So it also defaults to averages. I'm going to touch on the forecast option. And here's where you get the details of each of the 7 days. And it, as you see noted there, powered by dark sky. That's the data source they're using. So what I do here is I just scroll, swipe left to get a sense of what are the highs and the lows. So the lowest of the lows gets down to 37. That's why it didn't return on my first search, because I was cutting off at 40 at that point. But the other thing I look at here is wind and rain. So, because if something's gusting at 50, I'm going to look for another area. So, and the rain is to the right of the little drop icon. So I'm just going to look at the gusts and the rainfall, and for me, all of that looks manageable. So I would consider this area, the area around this Ponderosa Dispersed, to be suitable for further exploration about where I might want to find camping for myself. So that's kind of the summary of how to use it. I'm going to touch the map again to get rid of that info. The other places you might want to look around just to learn more about this app is touching the eyeball again to the right of the search field. You don't have to limit yourself just to campgrounds. You can explore the overnights, facilities, and hazards options. And then also in the upper right corner of the map itself, you see the layers icon, the two little squares on top of each other, these are just little layers that you can overlay onto the background map. So you could explore these as well if you wanted to. So I hope that helps. I will mention one thing in case you check it out. To the left of this search bar here, the one that I'm moving, is that funnel icon. It's basically an all-in-one page for these different kinds of searches, search fields. So if you tap it and you do view all filters, I'm going to scroll up, you'll see it's basically everything on one page related to campgrounds. I don't use this. I find it does. I don't know if it operates always. So I always hit reset when I'm in here. And I go back. And even though I've reset that filter, you'll see my weather one is still in red. So if anything, the only time I touch and use that funnel is to do view all filters and then reset. That's literally all I do with that. I always use these areas. Okay, so I hope that has helped.